After taking a 9th-minute lead, a move that began and ended with Erling Haaland, Reinders in the middle of it with a lovely burst forward and a little pass with the perfect weight for Haaland to hit it first time. There's been a little undercurrent of feistiness, just what we would expect in a game of this magnitude. But at half-time, City lead Arsenal by 1-0. Well, let's go back to the studio and let's get the thoughts of Izzy alongside Natalie.
Break, and I have to admit I was happy for the halftime whistles to be blown there, because I was getting quite nervous towards the end of that first half. But City go in with the lead. Still joined by Izzy Christiansen here in the studio. Izzy, I feel like, is it fair to say that this is a different City performance than we are used to generally seeing?
Yeah, I think the way that Arsenal are playing, they obviously want to possess the ball a lot, not take as many risks, but us scoring early is massive. But it's come from being direct and, you know, a little bit scruffy, but they tidied up. They made the move happen. Haaland put on the jets and, you know, got him beyond Gabriel. It was a fantastic goal. But yeah, it's been a really gritty performance. You know, a lot of tackles. I think Nico O'Reilly's been excellent. But yeah, it's been a really interesting performance, and I think the early goal was crucial.
Yeah, the Nico O'Reilly and Noni Madueke battle for me is the most interesting one on the pitch at the minute. Noni Madueke seems like the only spark really in that Arsenal team, especially towards the end of the half there. He had a couple of good opportunities, but he had Nico a couple of times, and then Nico O'Reilly had him at the end there
yeah,
with the tackle, and then he megged him.
Yeah.
It's a really fascinating battle.
It is, and I think it's one that Arteta will recognise. We spoke, you know, we know Nico O'Reilly come through the academy, top player, playing out of position, but he can definitely do a job there at left back. He's shown it, you know, in big games so far already this season. But it's clearly where Arteta has identified they can have a bit of joy. And they have, to be fair. He's looked a real threat, Madueke. But no, Nico O'Reilly's been equal to the challenge. But I think the longer the game goes on, half-time then, like you said, it came, you know, perfect timing just to kind of, you know, reduce the stress and get into there, get some new messages to the team from the coaching staff. But no, I think it's been a really gritty performance from the City lads.
So as we say, 1-0 up, the goal scored, of course, by who else other than Erling Haaland, who looks this season like a man utterly and completely possessed. I mean, we've seen some incredible goal scoring from him in the seasons that he's been here, but this year, unbelievable. There's some incredible stats going around. So he's had 12 goals in his last 8 games. That's for City and for Norway. Of course, he had the 5 against Moldova for Norway, which helps. He's scored goals in 13 of his last 15 matches, which is phenomenal, of course. And he has scored 5 goals in 7 Premier League appearances against Arsenal now as well. And 20 goals in 21 league games in London. I mean, I don't know how many stats we can find to keep talking about Erling, but we will. So let's have a talk about the goal, because it was a really interesting. But pre the goal, I'd said to you how tight it looked in the middle. There was so many. The middle was packed.
Yeah, you're spot on, because Arsenal want to load up the central area with their fullbacks. We do it as well at times. We've got Foden, Bernardo, who want to play sort of central, narrow, and it got really tight. But I think it's so clever from Haaland, the way he kind of reads the pressure, sucks the centre-backs in, and then they just go. And that is literally, you know, the best way to play with the likes of Doku, Haaland, and then Reinders as well, the midfielder who obviously came in this season. We've seen the impact of his running power is outrageous, and he showed another little element of that in the goal. And yeah, I think it was much deserved. And again, Haaland goes through on goal. Name another player in world football at the moment you want through on goal than him in that situation. Of course, it hit the back of the net.
We're seeing different types of play and goals from him as well. I feel like in previous seasons, because we were perhaps had the ball a lot more, we had a much higher press, we didn't often see him coming out of the 18-yard box. Whereas this season, I feel like we're seeing him, well, not only defensively, but he's picked the ball up in our half. He's laid it off to Reinders. Then Reinders has made the run. Then, as you said, he's just...
Yeah, he's gone.
Gone, yeah.
And that's clever, because Pep's using, you know, the tools he's got in his shed, if you like, in terms of, like, he's got the power of Reinders. You've got Haaland, who we spoke before the game, will attract 2 centre-backs. And when he comes deep, it becomes more and more dangerous for the 2 Arsenal centre-backs to come in, because the space in behind, Doku, he's on the last line. So Arsenal defence, you know, they are very well trained. They know their roles, but they're very much in limbo. And I think that's really clever from Pep and the players in the front line especially, in terms of playing games with Arsenal in the mind. You know, now what do they do? Because Arsenal have then got to go and find a goal to equalise, and by doing that you've got to take risks. And that leaves space in the other part of the pitch for City to go and exploit.
In the goals, well, you mentioned Reinders. We were so impressed with the way that obviously he takes off with speed, but he also delays, he holds back the pass. He can see Doku, who's coming in on his left, and obviously Doku being there is a distraction for the defenders who didn't know which way to pull off. And then, but he holds it. He waits till the perfect moment for Erling to go past him.
Well, that's it, and he knows, because Erling Haaland's shown his athleticism. We know, what a machine he is. But the space for him to run into, and like you said, when he's playing inside the 18-yard box, like last season and season before, he's such a threat, but also he can't open his legs. He can't run because he'll run out of pitch. Whereas if he's playing on the halfway line, he's got half the pitch to run into. And he obviously just sees the space, turns on the jets, and he goes. And it's a superb goal, bit of composure. And like I said, there's no better man than that guy in front of goal in that situation.
I feel like I didn't know he was that fast, like you say, because we often don't see him. But as we said, he started the move. He picked up the ball. He plays it to Reinders. I mean, he's a good, 4 or 5 feet behind Reinders at this point.
Yeah.
Gabriel's not a slow player.
No.
Like, I still can't get over how rapid he went.
And I know it kind of made me question, is Gabriel fully fit? Because, like you said there, he created like a 2-yard gap between them into a 4 or 5 yard gap. And at that point, a player of Erling's quality, no one's going to catch him at that point. And if he's got even a half a yard inside the box, he's going to score. And he had 5 yards to tuck it away. But it's a great finish. And like you said, I think Michael Brown, he did mention it on commentary. He's so smart the way he reads the game. And you just said it there about the timing of the release pass from Reinders. And that is, world-class football.
Loving it. Absolutely loving it, clearly. A man that I'm also loving, we talked about before the game as well, as, of course, Kushanoff. We talk about his defending in the derby last week and how we enjoy not only his speed, but his kind of aggression in the blocks and the tackles. We seen that again a few times today, Izzy. But something I've noticed, do you think, I don't really see Phil or Bernardo, whoever is playing out on the right, tracking back. It feels like it's just Kushanoff responsible on the right for the defending, but is that more to do with the fact that it's Trossard that's out there, do you think? Yeah,
it's a good point. Like, our back four's quite flat. I think Arsenal, towards the end of that first half, they started to get a little bit of joy outside of O'Reilly and Kushanoff. Obviously, the back four starts to narrow as they get more fatigued and they start protecting the 18-yard box and the box. So like I said, it's a good time for half-time to come. But I think Foden's been the guy that's acknowledged that he's going to need to track back and help Kushanoff. But ultimately, it's clever because Arsenal want to play central to then play wide to then play central again. So City are almost like preempting the kind of trick move and playing and defending central to then say, go on then play wide because that's where we'll hunt you down. Because Kushanoff can get out and be aggressive, and so can O'Reilly. We've just seen it. But yeah, I think Kushanoff's start to the game outstanding, and I wouldn't be surprised if Arteta has a look at changing the left winger. He's got options, Martinelli perhaps, with more pace. You get a bit of a Madueke feel about Martinelli on the other side. And Bukayo Saka as well. He's obviously a class player. He could be a threat. But City need to find a way to get up the pitch again, because you don't want to be defending like they did in the last 10 for the whole of the second half. They need to go and push and find that second goal.
Made me feel uncomfortable as soon as you said that.
They'll be all right. They'll be all right.
My heart wouldn't take that for another 45 minutes. OK, let's have a look at the half-time stats. You can see there. Arsenal with 67% of the possession, so City just on 33%. I have no idea. I bet Ali Mann doesn't even know, the god of stats, when the last time City played a half and only had 33% of the possession. It just shows you how pragmatic they've been playing in this game. So 4 shots for Arsenal, 3 for City. But the fascinating part about the shots on target, 2 for City, 1 for Arsenal. And that came in the added on time in 45. So in the first 45, they didn't have a single shot on target. 5 corners, no surprise from Arsenal. But I think Donnarumma has some serious long arms because he's managed to get a punch on quite a few of those corners. Oh, we'll just ignore the fouls bit. If it winds that Arsenal crowd up a little bit more, I'm all for that, Izzy, because you could feel the frustration was building inside the Emirates towards that half.
And I think that's what, they are the home team, the pressure's on them. That's why the stats look more, in Arsenal's favour in terms of the possession. But I think the Arsenal fans, if you say you got 20% possession and a goal up, I think they take that one. And, City have almost tricked people into thinking possession football is the way forward for the last 8 years.
I love that. And we've gone,
there we go.
Got you.
It's only half time though. Let's hope they can find that second.
It's not the only kind of old school football thing that we've seen today as well. We were mentioning it. I am a fan of the long throw. I like a long throw. City don't really do them, but Arsenal have done it on both sides of the pitch today. Where do you stand on a long throw?
Can be effective. Seen it, was it Brentford against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago? They got their equaliser in the last minute from a long throw. It's effective when you set up for it. It's weird. I mean, I personally, I don't like playing against long throws, but if you've got the long throw, obviously you're right in there because you think anything can happen. If you've got a player in your team that can launch it probably more than 20 yards, I'd say absolutely have a go. But the amount of there are definitely stats out there, and I've touched the surface a little bit with a few of it, but long throw-ins, there's so many stats around throw-ins in football, like how many times teams lose possession from a throw-in. It's mad. And like you look at, like, go back to the derby last weekend, City's first goal Erling Haaland's first goal came from a throw-in because Man United were sucked into thinking, because the thrower's a spare player, so the person taking the throw-in is unmarked. So if you play quick throw-in to you and someone comes and put pressure on you, I'm then free.
Yeah.
So then you've automatically got out, if that makes sense. So it's an interesting, yeah.
I like that. I hadn't even noticed that in the derby. I'm going to look at those goals now. We're going to go back over now to the Emirates, to FG and to Brownie.
Yeah, half-time from the Emirates Stadium. And, wow, good first-half performance, professional first-half performance. A goal from Erling Haaland straight away to settle the nerves, so to speak. But defended really, really well and managed the game really well in that first half.
It settled my nerves, I'll be honest with you. That was a really good goal, wasn't it? Erling just lays it inside. And then Reinders, a fantastic run as a midfielder, broke the lines as we talk about. But what Erling did straight away, he's charged forward, left Gabriel right through the middle, and then Reinders is scanning left and right. Doku's one option, and he's just thinking, come on, get close to me. And at that point, you could see, can't you, Saliba's trying to delay and wait, and the weight of the pass was perfect. When Erling's in that stride in front of him, there's nobody else. The fire's on, we're almost going. The tan's coming on. I had a little bit of a shock. Penalty shootout behind us, great goal, but we defended really well as a team. The collective, and as well, do you know, with the rest, that's going to be so important in the second half, that when we get put under pressure, you know, these Arsenal fans, for all the possession they've had, nearly 70%, are moaning, saying it's a little bit boring. City have defended that narrow space really well.
They have defended that space really well. I want to ask you quickly, because City have had less rest than Arsenal, because this exact 11 played on Thursday night. Do you think we'll see changes early in the second half or earlier than normal? Because they're playing so well, but will that become a factor in this game?
I think that's the point. When you're set up like this, I don't think we need to do it yet. You know, if somebody starts to struggle, that'll be having a little bit of an eye on you, sort of saying, well, they're really on the back foot, they're fatiguing, they're really tight. There might be a one that forces you, but let's see. And we're almost there, aren't we? It's a big second half. It's a season-defining one. I think there's going to be a massive boost for the football club if we win this game.
Yeah, massive 45 minutes to come. We'll see you at full-time. Brownie, off you go. You've got to go and commentate. Let's head back to the studio.
Yeah, indeed, a massive 45 minutes of football to come up. And we spoke before the game, obviously, about City playing on the Thursday night and now playing now. It's an interesting point there for FG and from Brownie. You know, common sense would tell you that you'll make changes because they played on Thursday. But then Brownie's point, well, what changes are you going to make?
Yeah,
because you don't want to disrupt this.
Absolutely, it's tight. I think you might be forced into changes in the second half if Arsenal do come out and are completely dominant. So City, you know, Pep's got, you know, he's got options off the bench.
Eze.
But yeah, there we go. Eze, Bukayo Saka, whoever, you know, Martinelli, there was definitely going to be a change there, and they'll want to pile on the pressure.
No.
Is that Saka? No, I think Saka's still on. Oh, there he is.
That is Saka.
There he is.
Yeah, OK, so
Captain's
that is
armband.
Eze and Saka both stripped, so that is a double change for Arsenal.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's sending the cavalry on, isn't he? He's sending them on because this means that the game might open up. And City, you know, we spoke about the threat on the halfway line with Doku and Haaland. This could be good for City because they are going to go for it. The pressure is on them.
OK, right, Blues, there might be a nail-biting 45 minutes to go, but let's hope City can either hold out, score some more, Donnarumma keep those big punches up, those big saves. We will be back here at full time, or hopefully I will be back here and not have collapsed or fainted on the floor somewhere. Full match second half commentary now from Alistair Mann and from Michael Brown. Come on, City.
Well, if you were under any illusions about the pressure on Arsenal today, just look what they've done at half-time. Eze's come on for Marino, Martinelli... Eze's come on for Marino and Saka has come on for Trossard. So they are absolutely going for it, no question about it. Could that just tip the balance in Arsenal's favour, or might that just create more gaps for City to exploit? We shall see. I can't give you an answer to your question about the last time City had such a small amount of possession.